95th Broadway with my brother Paul. And I brought forth this little lesson, and I thought that I would just give a piece of it for you because it's so deep in my heart. And I hope that you receive it. My desire is that our deepening of learning and understanding, as I said before, deepens our capacity to be happy, to be joyful, to be peaceful, even on this roller coaster ride called living life on planet Earth. We all know that it's a roller coaster ride. It goes up and down. It goes all around. Sometimes we're screaming with the thrill of it all, and sometimes we're screaming because we really do believe that our life is at stake, that we may perish. And so we want to always bring teachings that deepen our sense of strength, our sense of courage, our sense of understanding how good we have it as children of God, created in the image and the likeness of God. So what I shared there and what I would like to share a bit with you all about is a teaching, the basic teachings that come from the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is ancient wisdom. For a long time it was referred to as the ancient mystical wisdom of the Jews. However, there are many, many Kabbalists who say that this teaching, this knowing, this understanding predates Judaism. They actually say that it goes all the way back to the garden, that it was something that the first human being, the first manifestation, the word man meaning manifestation, God creating man means God extending itself into the realm of manifest being, that this Kabbalah wisdom, the wisdom of the Kabbalah, was there in Adam, and it was there in Eve, and it is there in all of us. The basic thing that they teach is their principal teaching, which is who and what is God, and who and what are we, and what is our function for being, and how can we attain more happiness and more peace and more joy and more prosperity in our life experience while we live this very short dash of the expression of God that is your manifestation. The manifestation named Ruth, the manifestation named Cindy, the manifestation named Colette, the manifestation of God that is Sandra. How can we gain a deeper understanding of who we are and whose we are? The Kabbalah says that in the beginning all there was God, that God is light. And that to describe what that light was, it wasn't like incandescent light. It wasn't just light that shines like our lights overhead. But it was the light, or the consciousness, the awareness, and the fullness. It was the light of continuous, unending fulfillment, absolute fulfillment. But it said before the creation of humankind, before the creation of the manifestations of light, being just one light, even though God is the light of absolute, continuous, unending fulfillment, God itself could not feel fulfilled. Even being the light of all fulfillment, there was a missing piece. I know what I am, but how do I experience what I am? So the Kabbalah says that God figured out a plan. How can I feel fulfilled? Because after all, I am endless fulfillment. And the decision was made, I must shoot myself off and compartmentalize myself, not in truth, but in appearance, so that the one light becomes sparks of light. And each light, of course, is what the Creator is. And the Creator would like us to know, the Infinite would like us to remember, that we were created as vessels of light. And that being vessels of light gave God, the one light, an opportunity to pour itself forth in the act of sharing. So each of us in this room, if you can imagine, is just a receptacle, a vessel that is composed of light. It appears as though we are composed of flesh and blood and bone and marrow, but under the highest possible microscopic instruments, scientists have been able to inform us, hey, you're not really solid. You really are light. A bunch of lights dancing around a center. So you're a vessel of light. And God is constantly pouring itself into the vessel of light that you are. When God shares itself, when the light of infinite, unending possibility, unending fulfillment shares itself, suddenly it feels fulfilled. Very interesting, because we are the children of God. Therefore, we are the vessels of light. And each and every one of us is constantly, no matter what the conditions of your life look like, no matter what your challenges appear to be, regardless of whether you appear to be in a state of at ease or dis-ease, you can never, ever, ever stop being what you really are. And what you really are, and what I am, is a vessel of light. And you can never stop God's activity from happening. What is God's activity? God's activity is to fill you up, to pour itself into you as a vessel so that God experiences fulfillment. God experiences joy, and God experiences peace. The deal is, the Kabbalists say, that we are here not only to receive from God, but we are here to be like God. So many of us, if we get the understanding, and many of us have come across this teaching or various teachings of this nature for many years that say that you are the light of the world, and that that's what God created you to be. And all you can ever be is light, and you can't change that. And God has loved you into being. And there's nothing you can do to stop God from loving you. God sees you as its holy self. So if I'm up here preaching a sermon, God looks at Carlos and says, "That's my boy. I love that dude." And if I'm cussing somebody out on the street, God forbid, I don't do that very often anymore, maybe once or twice a year. But when I have found myself doing that, what is God doing? God is going, "Look at Carlos, that's my boy. I love that dude." No matter what I do, God loves this dude. I can't stop God from loving me. But I can separate myself from my own love for myself. So unlike God, I do not have the capacity to love Carlos no matter what Carlos is doing or failing to do. I do have the capacity to recognize that that's how I am loved by the Creator. So those of us who have been informed that we are the light of the world and that all of God is within us, those of us who have the 5 unity principles memorized by heart, may wonder sometime why we do not feel fulfilled in all moments. Why is it that I am light and God is pouring its light within me until my cup runs over? Why is it that I have times where I simply feel a void? Why do I have those times where I am not feeling fulfilled? Well, if we go back to the beginning of the teachings from the Kabbalah, we find that God itself could not feel fulfilled until it did one thing. And that one thing was to identify a vessel in which to pour itself. God was able to experience fulfillment by sharing. Therefore, if we are not feeling fulfilled in any moment, we already have the answer to the question. Why am I not feeling fulfilled in every moment? That has to be because in every moment I am not sharing. I am constantly and forever, with every breath I take, with every beat of my heart, I am receiving the light of Almighty God, who has created me as light and is filling me with light until my cup runs over. The way for me to feel it, to experience it, is that I must share it.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I've got to share it. Sometimes our cup is running over, and say your heart's the cup, and it's spilling out of your heart, and some of us are trying to scoop it back up and put it back in there. It's like, oh, some of my good stuff is getting away. Some of my prosperity, some of my love, some of my joy, some of my vitality is getting away. Oh my God, it's running over the cup, and we're trying to get it back in the cup. And the Kabbalists say that this is where we have all somehow gotten programmed into being. We think that we're supposed to be filled up with the light of God, filled up with the good gifts of the Spirit, filled up with prosperity, filled up with health and vitality and joy and peace and all that stuff. But we think that if we give it away, we won't have it. It's backwards thinking, as the Course in Miracles says. Course in Miracles says everything is an idea. Every idea is increased only by giving it away. And once we give it away, we have increased it more. And so God pouring full light of the joy, of the vitality, of fulfillment into us until our cup runs over. If we are not feeling fulfilled, once again, it's because we're trying to scoop it up and keep it because we think that's what will fulfill us. Even though month after month, year after year, decade after decade, we have come face to face with the fact that it won't fulfill us. Trying to keep it for ourselves will not fulfill us. When I'm trying to keep it for myself because I think if I extend some to you, or extend some of my good to the church, or extend some of my good to those that are in need, I think if I do that, I will run out. That scarcity consciousness. The Kabbalists say that the more we are as vessels of light, seeking only to want to receive more light and to keep all the light that the Creator gives us, that's increasing our identification with the ego. They call the ego the desire to receive for yourself alone. Carlos's desire to receive for himself alone. Carlos's desire to go to places and to encounter people and to enter into relationships with my motivating thought being, what can I get out of this? What can I get out of unity in the city? What can I get out of my relationships with my friends? What can I get out of my spouse? What can I get out of my lovers? What can I get out of my job? What can I get out of this world? Trying to get, making me feel more and more desperate. Because more and more, I feel like I've got to get more because, let's face it, something's missing or something's broken. And we have said before that the definition of the word shalom is that there is nothing missing and that there is nothing broken. God knows that there's nothing missing. God knows that there's nothing broken. And God's truest desire is to share its full self with us, that we might know the key to happiness, the key to peace, which is to share the overflow. When your cup runs over, you're not supposed to try to scoop it up and keep it, because you increase a sense of desperation. You increase a consciousness of lack and limitation. There are people who go to services, who go to ashrams, who go to temple, who go to any kind of spiritual arenas, and they try to get by giving as little as possible in hopes of receiving as much as possible. It cannot be done. What the Kabbalists go on to say is that when we are living to receive for ourselves alone, and that is the key motivating factor in our relationships and in our experiences and in our seeking, the more we are after what can I get, what can I get, what can I get, what can I get, that there is a sadness that overrides us. Even when we have a smile on our face, even while we're singing and dancing, there's an empty place within us. There is some knowing that we are not on God's purpose when we are really motivated by what can I get. God's purpose is what can I extend? What can I share? And so what they say happens if I, Carlos, enter into relationships only for what I can get. Once again, they call it a desire to receive for the self alone. The self alone. And sometimes we can trick ourselves into thinking that my desire to receive something isn't for myself alone. I know people who say, when I win the lottery, or if I ever was left a bunch of money, ooh, you watch what I do with it. You watch who I give it to. I'm going to support children who have no parents. I'm going to give to churches and synagogues. I'm going to really help the needy and the poor. It's just that I don't have enough to give right now. But when my ship comes in, you watch. I'm just a blessing on the world waiting to happen. And right now I can't let it happen because I just don't have enough. But I'm praying to God every day, bless me with prosperity, because when you do, I'm going to make a difference in this world. It's BS.
Yes, sir.
It's not true. We're always who we are.
Yes, sir.
We're always who we are. If we're stingy with $10, we will be stingy with $10,000.
Yes, sir.
Because it's our consciousness that's in operation.
Yes.
It's not even about what we have.
Yes.
I told my class yesterday at my house, I said, one thing I learned, and I learned it early, and I learned it years ago, and I learned it from being in relationship and hanging around and being taught by Bill and Camille Cosby and by Oprah Winfrey and by my friend Ken Blanchard, who many years wrote The 1 Minute Manager. These people have a lot of money, a lot of it, and they give a lot of it away. But let me tell you one thing, not one of them gives it to somebody who has talk. Somebody who says, when you give me this money, watch what I do with it. I'm going to open a school for girls. I'm going to create an orphanage. I'm going to have a place where people from all the three principal Abraham religions come together and learn to live in peace. I'm gonna, and all of them say, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Oh, I don't have it. No, you have something. What are you doing now? Do you give $10 to a cause? 20, 30? Do you go to church and actually support the ministry? Do you ever give to someone who has less than you? Well, it's just that I don't have enough. You're fooling yourself. You're lying to yourself. What they do is they search around for men and women, boys and girls, who are already doing something to change the world. They're already busily about forwarding heaven on planet Earth. Some of them with the smallest little budgets, and some with the smallest levels of income. My daughter reported to me that she is not receiving a lot of financial support for the health care of my grandson. And we put out word, and she said, but listen, the people I am receiving it from, Dad, have blown my mind. She has a friend who has been up all night making empanadas and selling empanadas to give the money for Sabir's health recovery fund. She is the single highest giver to the fund, including all of us and including me, who have way more money than she does. My daughter said, oh, Dad, after only a few weeks, she turned in over $700 for my son's health recovery from making empanadas. Staying up all night, making them singing songs and going out and selling them on the streets and outside of stores and ball games and book clubs and everywhere. That's the kind of person Bill and Camille would give some money to. That's the kind of person Oprah would give some to. That's the kind that Kim Blanchard would give some to. It is people who are already doing something with the overflow, instead of trying to keep it all, thinking I don't have enough to give. The Kabbalists break it down this way. They say that not only do you not have the feeling of being fulfilled when you do not share, they say it goes even beyond that. It's not just that you're missing the feeling of being fulfilled. It's that you are eating, they say, from the bread of shame. That there is a part of you who knows that you're divine, who knows that you are God in manifestation, and who knows that being God in manifestation, your vocation, your reason for being born, is to know how blessed you are and to share from your overflow. And so although we are not consciously walking around thinking I am eating from the bread of shame, the Kabbalists describe it as simply a feeling of something missing in our life. That something is missing in my life. And that I am far more easily frustrated than I am inspired. What's going wrong? Where is God? Where is my good? Where's the answer to my prayer? And the Kabbalists say the answer to your prayer, Carlos, is in your very living. God has created you as a vessel of light. And God is consistently, with every heartbeat, with every breath you take, filling you with light itself. The light of endless fulfillment. There's no cap on it. There's no glass ceiling. It's endless fulfillment available to you and to me, my brothers and sisters. And it's reminding me that my cup runs over. There is no one who has so little they cannot share.